If I was to pick a couple of like themes for my conversations, this sort of cultural historical identity comes up a lot where folks are like, we don't want to lose this part of us. This is a deeply important aspect of who we are. And so if I were to say that like there's one thing that everyone that I speak to has in common, it's that recognition that this is really important and the space is really important and we have to like get this right.
Yeah, no
And so
pressure.
that's right.
Historically, we've been a agricultural and aquacultural based community, but then in the 80s we became more residential. And I think when they adopted zoning, they kind of forgot about our agricultural background. They were so focused on residential development. So a lot of our zoning doesn't really accommodate these uses, especially the historical working waterfronts. Most of them require some type of special exception or a special way of getting approval for them. We included working waterfronts in our comp plan that we want to support them and allow them to grow. The idea for an overlay district is just an idea, but an overlay district is on top of the existing zoning, so it might allow additional uses, but the current uses are permitted.
Okay, so usually an overlay district kind of adds more rules to an existing zone, but this would be adding more uses.
That's correct.
Something we are really curious about is, do we need to be a bit more flexible about the kinds of activities that we envision happening on the working waterfront in the future and the present?
What are some examples of ways people would use a working waterfront?
We can't think of everything, but traditionally it's marinas, right? And then
Mhm.
the big thing in Gloucester right now is oystering. So those are the big ones. But talking about bringing younger people, the Harrises have started Matheson Seafood. They're a young couple that are started an oyster business down at the old Shackelford seafood site, and they have ideas for like ecotourism, that kind of thing. So like there are new uses. So I told Lauren when she's talking to people, that's one thing with zoning, you can't think of everything. And so someone always comes up with this great idea and it's like, oh dang, it's not permitted in our ordinance. So Lauren, I don't know if you've heard of any new ideas that I didn't bring up.
I have heard pretty much all of those ideas, really trying to expand it to include things like ecotourism, even like agritourism, where people are interested in coming to these businesses for these experiences. Something else that has been coming up when you think of folks that rely on the working waterfront, sometimes their activities aren't taking place right on the water. It might be a couple miles away, whether it's because, they need a
Like a bait and
refrigerator.
tackle shop kind of thing.
Yeah, and so that's also something that I'm really trying to consider that, I'm saying working waterfront, but sometimes those water dependent businesses and water dependent people really aren't right on the water. And so how can we plan for that flexibility in a way that really meets people where they are and where they want to be?